Welcome back. If I were a tour guide, the very first moment I will enter here, I will feel different. And I don't think that even after thousands of times, I would feel that I feel bored or I feel that, oh, these are the very same pieces I am watching or I see for hundreds of times. Is this a feeling of the tour guides we have, or they do have a bond with every and each piece here? I think this is going to be my first question to my dear guest, Dr. Emad Hamdy, our tour guide and our tourism expert. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
My pleasure.
Let's answer this very first question. After hundreds of times, or maybe thousands of times you're here in the museum in Tahrir Square, you feel bored or you feel that you now have a bond with each piece?
I'm still impressed, really. After all these years, I'm working as a tour guide like that 25 years ago, and my whole career is about tourism and in many places, including the museum. But also, it's a part of a bigger experience in Egypt. So when the people comes over here, the first thing that they can see in Cairo is the Cairo Museum, which is one of the masterpieces of Cairo. But also we consider other places because all these artifacts in the museum were taken from different temples and tombs in Upper Egypt. So a part of the experience, people should go there and should cover all these sightseeing. So it's still a part of. I know it's a very important part, but it's also a very good starting point.
Amen to that, sir, and I'm going to go through all of this and to also the new museums we have, and I think now we do have a leap or a breakthrough when it comes to museums scattered all over Egypt, not only in the main cities, but now we are proud to say that we do have our the reopening of Sohag Museum, for example, of Aluminium Museum, of the Vehicles Museum in Sharm el-Sheikh, you name it, in addition to, of course, the Gym or the Grand Egyptian Museum, which is going to be one of our gifts to humanity at large. But you know, I've asked this question because when I entered here and I found some of our tour guides, I feel the zeal in their voices. I feel the sense of pride to be here and to let the foreigners know where they are standing and among which pieces they are standing. Tell me this and tell me how these feelings are already conveyed to the tourists we have.
Of course, you just mentioned that we try as possible to give them a little glimpse about our history, and at the same time also to show the value of these artifacts, how important these artifacts is at the moment, and also the fact that some of these artifacts have a part of our modern history as well. A lot of people don't know that there was a bigger argument between the Egyptian government and the British government to keep some of the artifacts of King Tut in the British Museum, and the government right here in Egypt insisted to have these artifacts in the Egyptian Museum. This is, for example, the golden sarcophagus of King Tut, which is one of the masterpieces of all the Egyptian monuments, and also some other facts which is also gives a different experience for the people when they know that the story of the excavations of some of the artifacts. Some people got frightened when they saw some of the images inside because of the glass eyes. So when the light comes from the door,
pharaohs.
there is nothing really called the curse of the pharaohs, but that was quite confusing for many people about the story of the excavation of King Tut, because don't imagine that you just closing a tomb for more than 4,000 years, and you suddenly open the door and you was rushing inside. The air inside is poisoned. So when you smell this air, you will get some medical issues, and this is what's happened.
But you are going to have some connection with what was written on some of the papyri. If you are going to disturb the deceased or to disturb the king, you are going to be cursed. And when they do have this connection between this and that, I think they should be frightened.
It's quite a mystery. I totally agree. And at the same time, I will disagree about some of the details about the story, because this like happened in other tombs as well.
Yeah.
Because the most famous, of course, is King Tut's tomb, but there's also repeated again and
If I
again in
am
many
your
places.
tourist and I'm asking these questions, how you're gonna answer?
I will answer the two answers, the two normal answers. If we need to hear something like on scientific basis, we will mention this, of course. And if we need the other story, I will also mention this. So people can accept whatever, because you can just take your history from one perspective. So you have, as a tour guide, you have to mention all the stories that was already mentioned about the artifacts and about the monuments, especially the excavations that was the last 150 years.
Here in Tahrir Square, in Tahrir Museum, if you do have a tour and you do have a group, um, which part is going to be more exciting? I'm not going to say frightening, of course, but which part is going to be the cherry on the cake?
Okay, so in Cairo, depends on how long you have in Cairo, because some people have like a quick trip to Cairo, so they have few hours to wandering about like around the city. For example, if we have like few hours in Cairo, we definitely will go to the pyramids.
No, if I do have few hours here in the museum.
In the museum, sorry. Well, in the museum, I will highlight, because if you spend a minute in front of each artifact, you roughly need 9 months to cover the whole museum. So
Yeah.
we just highlight, because you are like working within a time frame. So we just have like 1 hour, 2 hour. Also, we consider to give people some free time, just to take some pictures and enjoying themselves inside the building.
Yeah.
But also we highlight, I'm normally, for me as Emad, like we do this in chronological order. So
Yeah.
we just choose like 2, 3 pieces from each time period, like Old Middle New Kingdoms, then we go to cover the Greek and Roman part after that. We just normally give people free time just to see everything in the museum, especially there are some of the rooms in the museum that you can't do your job inside, so
Oh,
because you
okay.
need to keep it quiet. Small room, a lot of people, different languages, so in order just to give people a nice experience, so we give them like a free time just to see the place themselves and just to take some nice pictures in the building as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
It depends upon the nationality of the tourists, for example, and also their jobs. I mean, for example, if you do have a group of doctors, they will be that keen to know about the things which
More about mummification.
mummification and anatomy.
That's
and
right.
anatomy, and
That's
to
right.
what extent we were brilliant in that. Women, they want to go to
The
the
cosmetic
gold
part
room and
and-
cosmetic and stuff like that. I want to have the details and how you are going to decide which part is going to be more exciting.
I'm
for
very
this
happy
and that.
because you asked me about this question, because we sometimes meet some people who
Yeah.
are working in different professions, like for example doctors or professors or whatever, and they need to know more about something specifically, so we just go straight to this part and we cover it with more details, unlike other people, because the normal tourists, they just need to know some little information about each article, but people who really specialized in like medicine or whatever,
This is
they
it.
need to know more. For example, if we stand by one of the sarcophagi, we will mention more about mummification and about the process itself, what's the significance of the mummification. So we just give them like a lecture, a short lecture for like 15 minutes or whatsoever after that. Then we cover the tours in our normal basis. But also some people who are really concerned about engineering, we just talk more about the technology of cutting the stones from the quarries. For example, what's the difference here is that was mentioned about building the pyramids and the different tombs, how they were able to do this with no cranes, there's no hydraulics, and the size of the rocks, for
Yeah.
example. This is also some of the things that we just normally talk about in our visits.
You know, sir, I'm asking these questions because, for example, I will think that the Germans will be that much attracted to the accuracy of each thing. The French, and especially the French women, are going to be that much attracted to the beauty of the Egyptian women.
This is absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, would you please elaborate?
Yes, like when we just were normally working with Americans and British, but we just meet our people and our friends who are working with different nationalities. For example, like we mentioned, the French will be concerned about women, especially. They they will have a great interest to see the part of the cosmetics and the
Yeah.
mirrors, the copper mirrors, and the oil
And the
perfume
hair of tea,
containers
for example.
and the milk kite and the stuff like that. So they will love to see this, and they're really shocked when they see something like which is more than 3,500 years old in Egypt. And also the reason why all the men in ancient Egypt have clear faces and they are able to shave their chin using razors and scissors, which is something wasn't really in the whole region during that
The
time.
use of precious stones in our necklaces and in our rings, the wigs,
That's right.
artificial hair. I mean,
They live
everything.
luxurious life, let's
Yeah.
say. People at that time were living into the caves and like in the jungles in different places of the planet Earth. But Egyptians during that time were able to build tombs,
Yeah.
pyramids, houses. They have their nice lifestyle. They live in a good quality
Yeah.
of life and whatsoever after that.
As I said in my intro or in my first question regarding the museums now we have scattered all over Egypt.
Yeah.
And do you think, sir, that the map or our tours map is now getting a little bit different or and getting richer or more rich, if I can
That-
say so?
that's
And
right.
and now it's easy, it's very much easy to spend a whole day in Sohag Museum, for example, or in El Minya, in Tuna Al Gabal. I mean, you know, one of my dreams is to have a tour in Tun Al Gabal, a tour in San Al Hagar, in or
Sharqiyya.
Luxor of the Delta,
Mm.
and to have these places as also one of the significant places where I can go and I can spend lovely days there. If you want to elaborate on that too.
Fortunately, the government recently rearranged super long cruises on the River Nile, so people are now able to sail from Cairo to Aswan using no domestic flights. And just on the way, you mentioned some nice places like Tun Al Gabal, which is in Minya. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't know that this is the biggest catacomb for the animals
Yeah.
in Egypt and the biggest in the whole world.
Yep.
It's nearly covering more than 60,000 square meter, and they have different species inside. We still have a lot just to uncover in this place, so it's very famous catacomb in Egypt. And also there is a lot of hidden treasures, let's say. I know that there is a lot of famous places like the pyramids, like the famous temples and the Valley of the Kings. So most of the people who comes to Egypt, they doing this tour, but also some places which is very rich and not famous, unfortunately. So what we need to do, like the next few years, is to highlight these places in our programs.
A factory for beer.
Exactly.
A factory
True.
for perfumes.
That's right.
And I think now.
Do you know that in Saqqara they just uncovered the last year a workshops of the mummification
Yes.
process? So we found a lot of things in this hidden places,
And I
which
think
is
we
still under the
discovered that
sand.
some of the cat statues, for example, there is a cat inside,
A lot,
mummified.
yes, a
and,
lot.
And a lot of.
Yeah.
And this is to say that we respected, we as Egyptians, of course, respected animals more than can anybody ever think.
One of the main principles of the Egyptian civilization
Yeah.
is to pay respect
Yeah.
for the different species,
Mm.
and the evidence that we
And to
have a
have them
lot of
as
catacombs.
goddesses.
Even the insects, even the scarab beetles were like mummified. And we have a lot of catacombs all over Egypt from Alexandria to Aswan, have different types
I
of
can
animals.
easily say that the old Egyptian learned from other species, learned from animals.
That's right.
Learned from animals, the cat reaction.
They
learned
believed
from-
that these species are the gods when he manifested
Yeah.
on earth. So the God manifested in his creatures. So these creatures representing the image of the one God for the ancient Egyptians.
And because
That's
of
why
that,
they pay a lot of
if
respect.
I do have a mother deity, for example, it's the cow. If I do have Anubis, am I pronouncing it right?
It's okay, Anubis or Anubis,
Or Anubis.
Yeah.
It's the head of a
of a jackal.
of a this is it. I mean, these are things which we all should be proud of.
That's
That
right.
nowadays humanity is shown in many
It's
by,
quite different. I
but
understand
now
this.
it's
Yeah.
quite different, and I think that these are things which we should tell our guests or our tourists to know how much we were civilized, and we are continuing to be
We need from
that
the
way.
beginning to learn the young generations about their
This was
civilization.
my coming question.
That's right.
How do you see visiting such a place for the young generations with the school journeys, with spending a day here where, for our students, starting the very first or early stages, I mean primary,
How to
how
respect.
how to respect and how to know that they do have a message also. I mean, they should know in detail because they are going to be asked
That's
someday,
right.
and they should be our
And what
tour
they are going
guides
to
and
tell
our
people, they
ambassadors.
were asked about what's the value of these things. Do you consider this stuff and sarcophagi and these monuments as a part of your, let's say, pagan, unfortunately, civilization? Because this is what was like said in the media,
Yeah.
unfortunately, from some people. So we have to appreciate our young generations by telling them a lot of facts about the civilization. For example, the value of their civilization. The civilization and not just monuments. It's something beyond this, which is the morals and the
Behavior.
value and
Yeah.
the things like this. So we need to learn them
Mhm.
about these principles, let's say.
And this has nothing to do with the speciality of this kid. I mean, this kid is going to be an engineer, a doctor, a media person. Okay, this
He
is
will
great.
be whatever,
But you are
but
an
he needs to
Egyptian
learn about
before
the
being
civilization.
anything else.
Exactly. Totally agree with this.
How we can implement that on the ground? I mean, via changing
So
our curriculum, by
two,
visiting the
two,
museums,
two
by
different
what?
things.
What?
First, the education, the
Uh-huh.
schools. So we have to learn them or to consider a subject to
Mhm.
teach them the ancient Egyptian civilization, the ancient Egyptian language, how to read the hieroglyph in a proper way, stuff like that. So we can do this, arranging like summer courses for them, doing different like different occasions in the museum to just show them the history of these artifacts. So we can do a lot.
Dr. Ahmed, I'm going to tell you a story, a personal story. I was visiting, I think it was Luxor, and I had just a chat with some of the tourists we have, and unfortunately they asked me to write their names in hieroglyphic. And of course I was very much, I'm not going to say ashamed, but I didn't like the way they looked at me when I told them, I'm sorry, I don't know how to write in hieroglyphic.
I have no idea
I
about
have no
hieroglyph.
idea. All what I know is the N, because it's the initial letter of my name.
Right.
It's the water, and
Yeah,
that's it.
right.
No more than
Yeah,
that.
okay.
So, is it easy to teach our students a hieroglyphic, or
Yes.
at least to give them an idea about
Yes,
hieroglyphic?
it's not really very hard if we just decide to consider a subject that can teach the little kids or the young generation how to read the hieroglyph in a proper way. We can definitely do this. And we can arrange this through the schools or the institutions or even in the universities. So we can just consider this in our educational plans,
Yeah.
yeah, in the future. And moreover, in the summer, for example, we can arrange visits to the museum and to make them free tours so
Yep.
they can see practical
Yep.
what they have in these museums, besides a lot of the newly opening places. As you mentioned, the GEM, the Museum of Civilization, which is
Yeah.
one of the nice places. Yeah,
Yeah. One final question, Dr. Ahmed, regarding the seasons.
okay.
Now we thought that it's only the high season starting from September to or the winter
Or the
in
end of
general,
March, that's right.
and that's it. Now with the El Alamein festival, with taking into consideration that we can receive tourists all over the year and stuff like that, now I think the word high season now is not applicable, or at least we should work that the 12 months are going to be high season for Egypt.
I think, yes, okay. Just,
True or false first?
Okay.
And if yes, what we should do? What's our homework?
Okay, I will start with the homework first because unfortunately we are still working according to the old plans. So we need to do something that can nourish the Egyptian tourism by, for example, in the summer season, which is very hot, we
Yeah.
can open the sightseeing at the evening.
Mhm.
So we can consider this
Mhm.
at least from June to September. So
Okay.
we're doing a night shift for 3 hours.
Okay.
People can relax the whole day.
Mm.
This will guarantee that thousands and millions of people will come all over the year because
Mhm.
they were not going to experience the pyramids or the temples during the day or
Yeah.
the hot hours of the day, so they
Mhm.
can do it at the evening, and that will bring simply a lot of money, and they
Sure.
will keep a very high volume of tourists all over the year.
Mhm.
So I will start with the homework, but also we need to talk about the new places like the new Alamein, like the new cities that
The
were
North Coast
established
in
all over.
general, yeah.
This is amazing
Mhm.
because also this will guarantee to bring more people to Egypt, even
Mhm.
the repeaters who came to Egypt before and they go to Sharm el-Sheikh and to Hurghada. They need, if they want to come back, they will experience another new place, which is a new Alamein, and that's one of the very good places in Egypt at the moment.
A yes or no question. Optimistic about the future of our tours map?
Yes.
Great. This time it's going to be a final question. I promise. How many hotel rooms do we need to receive 30 million tourists, as we do have a strategy or a plan to reach this?
I think we need double what we have at the moment.
This is it, and this is what I wanted to end with. We need double the rooms, and I think we are on the
We need
right
to
track.
improve logistics.
To and
Please.
okay, believe it or not, this is now a priority.
Yeah.
We were very much delighted to have you, sir, and inshallah, we are going to have you in more episodes of our program.
My pleasure.
Well, right after the short break, I'm going to be back with more. Stay tuned.